Well, this story has a similar plot premise to that of the original series episode "Move and You're Dead," which is a kind of a nice homage to, and it sees the race car being the target of the Chaos Crew to get the turbo computer, which, if you look at the original episode, the BR2 was the target of Victor Gomez after Alan Tracy had won the Indy 500. So you can sort of pair the two episodes side by side, and you do see the similar subtleties and what have you. So yeah, that was good. And it sees Penelope wanting to race in Great Aunt Sylvia's memory for when she won the race back in the day with the original Fab One. And it's a very subtle and tasteful way of retiring the Great Aunt Sylvia character, because obviously, sadly, Sylvia Anderson is no longer with us. It is a shame. But I felt that was a nice way of not only honouring that character, but also, also honouring Sylvia, because it was because of her and Jerry that we got Thunderbirds in the first place. So, that was nice. Also, this was a real interesting episode for Penelope and company to get the job done by themselves without the intervention of the Thunderbirds launching. You could argue, to a subtle degree, Thunderbird 5 was involved, but, Thunderbird 5 is involved in most episodes because John is always overseeing everything. As it's been established as a precedent from the first season, Thunderbird 5 is basically acting as the International Rescue Mobile Control Unit. But when you don't have the necessity to have that for Thunderbird 1, when you've got a telecommunications satellite that is overseeing everything, can hack into anything, you don't need the mobile control unit. So, to not see a single Thunderbird launching, that was an intriguing concept for this week. And honestly, I'd like to see more episodes of Penelope and Parker being able to get the job done. So, this was good character development for them. Not that they needed sufficient character development, but it was nice to see that they got given time. So, I was quite happy with that. Ben Bailey Smith, also known as Doc Brown, was pretty good as Jensen Hunt, whichever your preferred interpretation. I wonder if that was meant to be the name was meant to be a slight nod to Jensen Button. And this is just my perception and just how I read the character and with this dialogue. But I felt like Doc Brown was trying to be a 2060 version of Lewis Hamilton's. Very similar type of voice. Very smooth, very slick. But, whatever floats your boat. I thought he was alright. He comes across as a little bit obnoxious and arrogant, but by the end of the episode, even though it's a 22-minute episode, he's gone through a transition whereby you're like, you know what, he's alright. He actually put a life before the race, whereas before he's like, no, we got to be all for the race. We all got to be for the race. He's like, you know what, this girl needs more attention than winning some race because there's always another year. So I did like that. The regulars nail it. I mean, by now, Rosamund Pike, David Graham, and Thomas Brodie Sangster, it's like I've said with regards to last week with David Menken and Erasmus Hardiker. They have played these characters so often since season 1 that they know the characters through and through. For them, it's like going in and it's like just going out and riding a bike. It's like muscle memory, or even vocal memory, if there is such a thing. So, yeah, they nailed it. They were awesome. what more do you need to say? Desert animation is rare in this show. You only ever see it like every odd episode or so, particularly with Grandma Turismo or Home on the Ranch. And that was really decent animation for being out in the desert. And of course, we're applying it to a rally race situation, that just adds to it. But it's Weta Workshop and Milk VFX. You're getting your money's worth and then some. So you earned your paycheck and then some this week, people. Well done. As mentioned earlier, the BR2 is a callback to Alan's car from the original series episode, Moving You're Dead. Also, the race, chase, duel, call it what you will, between the Chaos Crew and Fab One, that's a direct reference to the end of the race from the original series episode between Alan Tracy and Victor Gomez. And of course, a nod to the original Fab One. This next bit, you're going to see me as being biased, and I understand that, but the leap from one cliff face to another, I just looked at and thought, was that a reference to Knight Rider? It's like, did Fab One turbo boost to escape the Chaos Crew? I mean, that's a turbo boost that even Michael Knight and Kit can be proud of. I managed to get a Knight Rider reference into this show, which, that's always awesome, but, I'm counting that as an unofficial reference and, callback to Knight Rider, so, hey, why not? Why not? That was well done. And as for my final thought this week, it was a decent story with the supporting characters whereas before, in other episodes, they would just be there, just to hold things up whilst the main characters are doing the rescues and doing the primary missions. It's actually nice to see Penelope and Parker actually be the sole focus of the episode, or, to put the more importance onto these characters, just so that, they aren't just the muscle and the spies and what have you. They actually are capable of doing their own rescue missions and then some. And it was a nice send-off for Sylvia Anderson, because this episode was dedicated to her memory, and when I remember seeing the Season 1 episode Designated Driver and hearing her voice for the first time in years as a much more distinguished Lady Penelope, even though she's playing a different character, it's like, she's still got it. With that very glass jaw type of speech. That was the thing that made her version of Penelope, quite charming. There was this air of sophistication about her, but the lady always carried herself with that touch of class. She was always, that her name is in the description, Lady Penelope. She was she was a true lady. So I thought that was a very classy gesture upon the producers to have this as the farewell for her from the show, because even at the end credits they said this episode is dedicated to the memory of Sylvia Anderson, and as I mentioned before, if it wasn't for her and Jerry, we wouldn't even be talking about Thunderbirds on this show, because there wouldn't have been original Thunderbirds, there wouldn't have been this show. Very nice gesture for the late Sylvia, and I think she would have been touched to know that people thought that much of her. So, until next time, see you next mission, and good night from the night.